March of Time. To the movie houses of the United States, which prospered throughout the war, the first year of peace is bringing a box office stampede greater than anything theater operators have ever experienced. The U.S. film industry, riding a wave of prosperity, is turning out new films as fast as they can be completed to meet the public demand for entertainment. But despite this unprecedented boom, both at home and abroad, Hollywood's executives are giving serious consideration to the future of their lucrative foreign markets, particularly Britain, which has always accounted for an important part of the industry's income. In Britain, U.S. films have long dominated the field, taking as much as 85% of the total playing time in British theaters. Even during the toughest years of the war, the British public insisted on American films and paid out millions of pounds a year for them. But today, with Britain struggling to restore its damaged economy and obtain a more favorable balance of foreign trade, the millions being paid out to Hollywood have become an issue in Parliament, where this drain on the nation's finances has been called sharply to the public's attention by Robert Boothby, Conservative member from East Aberdeen.
Take down the following question to the Chancellor of the Exchequer. To ask Mr. Chancellor of the Exchequer why he has authorized the expenditure of over £20 million worth per annum for the purchase of American films. I should hate to give up Humphrey Bogart, but if I had to choose between Bogart and Bacon, I'm afraid the decision must for the time being be in favor of Bacon.
But to theater men, the problem is simply to obtain an adequate supply of acceptable pictures.
By no means am I alone in hoping that many more British films will soon be available. Nevertheless, we here appreciate the excellence of American productions and welcome them to our screens.
Determined to meet the need for more and better British films, Britain's movie producers are today embarked upon an ambitious program of pictures designed to compete with Hollywood's best, not only in Britain, but in the United States as well. In such satirical fantasies as A Matter of Life and Death, in which Colonel Blimp appears before a heavenly judgment seat, they're experimenting with types of production seldom attempted in Hollywood. But wherever possible, they are using stars known equally in the U.S. and Britain, like Raymond Massey.
Is Peter D. Carter what you would call a good Englishman, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you see this wine glass, sir? Out of it, Benedict Arnold drank the health of King George III. Does it break because it is faulty or because it is glass? Can I tear this piece of paper because it is defective or because it is paper? We are all as God made us, sir. But our ancestors had a deal to do in the shaping us as well.
Most costly bid of the British film industry for international prestige is the long-awaited spectacle Caesar and Cleopatra. Produced under wartime handicaps, this historical comedy was more than a year in the making and cost over £1.25 million, some $5.5 million, considerably more than any other picture ever made. Much depends on the success of this huge investment, and the film's producers are confident it will eventually pay off. For the story was written by George Bernard Shaw, Britain's greatest dramatist, and the producer-director is Gabriel Pascal, who has specialized in bringing Shaw's plays to the screen.
Now, Dad, you should watch the fall. Wherever the eagle falls, run towards the eagle. Don't run before you decided where is the eagle. You know what I mean? Action!
British film producers are not relying solely on a few lavish pictures like Caesar and Cleopatra. These are only a part of the big production program with which they hope to establish themselves permanently in world film markets, where Hollywood has long been without real competition. More than 10 years ago, British producers like Mark Oster and Basil Dean had already come to the conclusion that the British film industry must look to wider markets, particularly in the United States. Their major assets were a few British stars like the well-beloved Gracie Fields, whose popularity was unrivaled throughout the empire.
I ain't got no motherly hand to guide me. My father was sent to Dartmoor to reform. If there'd been a vacant cell, they'd have had me in as well. I'm one of the little orphans of the storm.
But many stars, as celebrated in Britain as George Formby, were still almost unknown to the American public.
Finger salutes Lavender and waves his hand in an airy wave.
An airy wave? What's an airy wave?
Oh, like that.
No, that's an airy wave.
No, you're both wrong. That's an airy wave because you get more air with it that way.
With the memorable production of Henry VIII starring Charles Laughton in 1933, Alexander Korda became the first British producer to achieve a solid box office smash in the United States as well as in the Empire. The success of this and other pictures attracted fresh and abundant capital, which gave a new impetus to the British film industry. There began a period of strong creative vitality, a period marked by such notable pictures as The Scarlet Pimpernel, with Raymond Massey and starring the late Leslie Howard.
This happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, this blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England. Oh, damn me, I forget the rest.
But long before the industry had reached its full stride, war intervened. For 6 long years, many British studios, whose size made them adaptable to such essentials as plane manufacturing, were tied up in war production. Many others were assigned by the government to Britain's documentary filmmakers. Under the wartime leadership of able publicist Jack Beddington, Britain's famed group of documentarians turned out a series of instructional and morale-building films, many of which are among the notable achievements of the cinema. In spite of wartime difficulties, some feature production continued. Several of Britain's most distinguished pictures were turned out during the war. Among them was No Cowards in Which We Serve, a warmly human story of the Royal Navy, which received recognition from the King and Queen for its contribution to wartime morale at home and as an instrument of goodwill abroad. But to the financial and business development of the industry, the great new fact was the emergence during the war of a commanding figure, J. Arthur Rank. A successful industrialist with little movie background, Rank is one of the richest men in England, possessor of a huge industrial fortune, which was derived primarily from a flour milling business built up by his father. In the years just before the war, Rank began expanding his business interests by investing in the movie industry. The end of hostilities found Rank and his associates in control of film interests, which gave them a dominant position. Rank now saw a chance to stem the one-way flow of money from Britain to the United States, for his holdings included not only a major share of British production facilities, but what was more important, chairmanship of 2 of England's 3 great theater chains. With all this power, he could influence the amount of playing time allotted to U.S. films in Britain, and in return, could get an opportunity for the wider showing of his British films in America. When Rank, with his new bargaining power, arrived in the United States, he found Hollywood's gates wide open and the entire film industry ready with a cordial reception. For Hollywood has always been keenly aware of the importance of British markets, which often represent the margin of profit on its pictures.
We don't want much. All we want is to have our British films play to a fair proportion of the world's audiences. That is, of course, if they're good enough and entertaining enough. And I'm sure they will be.
Within a few crowded weeks, Rank concluded far-reaching agreements which promised Britain a new position in the U.S. market. To familiarize U.S. audiences with British stars, executives like Darryl Zanuck, production chief of 20th Century Fox, are signing up such actors as Rex Harrison, slated for Anna and the King of Siam, and Peggy Cummins, candidate for Forever Amber. That such stars will find little trouble in winning popularity with U.S. audiences is indicated by the records of such favorites as Ida Lupino and of Ronald Colman, for 20 years one of the idols of the American screen. By Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, and the venerable C. Aubrey Smith, Dean of Hollywood's British colony, all of whom achieved their greatest fame in the United States. Though British studios are still handicapped by war-created shortages in production facilities and equipment, though many of Britain's ablest technicians have not yet returned to their peacetime jobs, Britain has available an abundance of creative talent, producers, directors, writers, and actors, which it feels will stand up well against the best Hollywood has to offer. Already familiar to Americans is Richard Green. Soon to become better known is Ann Todd, for whose services Hollywood's major studios have been offering large sums, and Phyllis Calvert, today one of Britain's most popular young stars. As yet little known to American audiences are such others as Stuart Granger and Anne Crawford. Margaret Lockwood has appeared several times on U.S. screens, but James Mason, currently one of Britain's top favorites, has scarcely been seen at all. Mindful of American taste, the British industry plans to use some of the better Hollywood directors like Wesley Ruggles, currently at work in London. And from New York, British filmmakers have imported Agnes DeMille, whose ballets for such stage hits as Oklahoma and Bloomer Girl set a wholly new style in musical comedy dancing. Britain has many experienced and able producers. Some of them, like Michael Balcon, have grown up with the industry. Others have made their names more recently, like Filippo Del Guidici, one of Rank's production chiefs, and Carol Reed, who directed Night Train, a film well known to American audiences. With such men as these, and with technical staffs now reinforced with those men already returned from the war, and some recruited from Hollywood, the British film industry is taking every possible advantage of today's golden opportunity to show what it can do.
Darling, you'll still have me whether I work or not.
What do you mean I'd see you for 5 minutes as you flip from meeting to meeting?
It's hardly as bad as that.
Yeah, but it is. Look, I don't want a wife that's forever sitting on committees and making speeches. I want the wife I left behind.
Michael, things are different now. I've got a job, an important job.
The job happens to be mine.
You mean you want it back again?
Yes. Please.
Here, lick. Good.
Could you do that with one hand?
Supposing I could, what would I do with the other one?
You need that to put out the fire and start in the hayrick.
Yes, I guess I am a little crazy.
Yes, I guess you are.
suffered for a few seconds. You will suffer those long weeks in the condemned cell, with the dreadful knowledge that the morning will inevitably come when the door will open and the hangman will come in to take you for your last walk, your walk to the scaffold.
If I swing, he swings as well. I'll take him with me if it's the last thing I do.
Why are you trying to put me off like this? What are you trying to do, make a fool of me? You heard what I said.
I can't think when you talk to me like that. You're frightening me. What's the matter with you?
Oh, so I frighten you, do I? You don't like the way I stare at you, is that it? Go on, tell me I'm mad. Tell me I'm mad like my mother does. Why am I frightening you?
Nicky, you are mad. Let me go. Please let me go.
You silly little fool. You think you can treat me like this? You're the same as all the others. The same as that woman on the heath. The same as that little fool in Regent's Park.
It was you.
No, it wasn't me. It was him. William Colebrook. They paid him for doing what I did. You've had your chance, Anne. You were the one girl who could have saved me and saved yourself, too. But it's too late now. Oh! Oh! Oh!
Whatever the outcome of Britain's new challenge to Hollywood, a challenge calling for the best each can produce, the final verdict will be rendered as it always must be by the movie-going public, the people who pay their money to be entertained. Time marches on.